Lead us in flag salute. Roll call, please.
We'll be commencing with an oral roll call. Commissioner Hamilton.
Present.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Present.
Commissioner Rustaller. Marking Commissioner Rustaller is absent. Commissioner Midgley. Commissioner Maury.
Here.
That concludes roll call.
Thank you. Are there any action requests or withdrawal?
Yes, Chair and Commission, David Kwong, your director. We do have a request by the applicant of item number 4, which is the request of use permit for Ahmed Hussein. He is here today requesting a continuance to the Plan Commission meeting of December 3rd. So that's before you as an action item to continue or not.
The pleasure of the board. Motion for continuance on item number 4.
I'll make a motion to continue the item number 4 to a later date.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Rustaller. Absent. Commissioner Midgley.
Yes.
Commissioner Maury. Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes. This time, the public is welcome to address the Planning Commission on items of interest to the public that are not listed on the agenda. Comments to the Commission are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes or 2 record. Is there anybody in the public who would like to make a comment? If not, we'll move to action items. We have two consent items this evening. Consent item number 1 is use permit number PA 20001, Constellation Wines. Item number 2 is quarry evacuation, PA 1900177, Robert Gallo, Life Estate. Is there anyone?
Correct. Yes, I need to make a comment on consent item number 2. I don't wish to pull it, but talking to County Council, I need to disclose that I am a partner in the property next door. It has no bearing on any decision here.
Also, items calendar for consent will be approved in one public hearing unless a Planning Commission or audience requests that these items be removed from the consent calendar and heard separately. Have a motion for consent? Or have a motion for consent for number 1 and 2?
Second.
Second, roll call, please.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Maury.
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes.
That concludes roll call with Rustaller absent.
Back to action item number 3, special purchase plan number PA 75, site improvement for name change.
Just 1 second for the PowerPoint. (1,280 square feet). The environmental review of this project is an addendum to the 2035 General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report that includes a review of the buildings proposed in Site Improvement Plan application PA 2076, as well as the potential for a future 12,327 square foot commercial development and a future 1,050,000 square foot industrial warehouse development. The project site will be served by the City of Stockton for water and sewer service, and a private detention basin will be constructed for storm drainage. The project has a general plan designation of APX, which is airport multi-use, and PF, which is public, and a zoning designation of APX, airport multi-use. The surrounding area includes industrial and educational facilities within the City of Stockton to the north. That's up here. State Route 99 agricultural and larger lot residential properties to the east. So over here to the side. A sports complex and produce packing and distribution facility to the south. So down here. And then the Stockton Metropolitan Airport and related development to the west, kind of southwest. So in here, that's the runways and then some development. This is a copy of the site plan submitted by the applicant depicting the proposed buildings. That's kind of the overall site there. And then this is a detailed view of the proposed warehouse buildings for the site improvement plan. And you'll also see on here, the future commercial is also kind of depicted there. In 2000, the Board of Supervisors approved the original special purpose plan for the area around the Stockton Metropolitan Airport. The plan area is divided into 4 primary areas: Airport East, Airport South, Airport West, and the Air Metro Park. In 2008, the Board of Supervisors approved a master development agreement with Prologis for the Airport East portion of the special purpose plan. The master development agreement was later assigned to Catellis Stockton LLC, which is commonly called Catellis, in 2013. Last month, the Board of Supervisors approved an amended and restated master development agreement to continue working with Catellis on the current Airpark 599 development project strategy. The Airport East area has remained undeveloped since the special purpose plan was approved, while other development in the area has occurred and significant transportation improvements have been constructed. In order to account for the area changes that have occurred, as well as meet current market demand and trends, and permit logical development of the site, Catellis is proposing special purpose plan application number PA 2075 to amend the original special purpose plan and create the Airpark 599 Airport East Addendum. The Airpark 599 Airport East Addendum includes updates to the land use layout concepts pertaining to the location of commercial and industrial uses, and the size of buildings, stormwater, landscaping, and open space requirements. The Airpark 599 Airport East Addendum also includes updates to the circulation plan to remove the smaller internal streets and reconfigure a portion of South Qantas Lane. As such, Catellis has simultaneously submitted road name change application number PA 2176 to rename the reconfigured portion of South Qantas Lane as East Landing Lane. In addition to these applications, the applicant has submitted for the underlying project with site improvement plan application PA 2076 for the 4 industrial warehouse buildings totaling 2,419,420 square feet. Katie Anderson prepared a traffic impact analysis dated July 22, 2020 to analyze the project's traffic impacts, near-term conditions, and consider the project's consistency with prior environmental documents that address cumulative long-term impacts. The project includes a reduction in square footage from 7.05 million square feet of office research and development, warehouse distribution, and commercial retail to 3.48 million square feet of industrial with a small amount of commercial. The county received a comment letter from the San Joaquin County Office of Education stating concerns about traffic congestion at the intersections of East Arch Airport, South Qantas Lane, and East Arch Airport Road and Giannichini Road during the student drop-off and pickup times for the nearby Venture Academy. The traffic study addressed morning conditions when the area schools are operating, and there is the highest potential for traffic impacts related to school traffic at the locations noted by the San Joaquin County Office of Education. The traffic impact analysis concluded that the reduced project scope would not result in any new significant impacts. The Community Development Department received a late comment letter today from the Laborers International Union of North America. The letter cited concerns over the use of an addendum to the 2035 General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report for the proposed project. It is inaccurate for the laborers union to conclude that this project was never considered in the 2035 general plan and final environmental impact report. The original special purpose plan was accounted for as a planned project when the final environmental impact report was adopted and included a greater number of smaller industrial buildings totaling 7.05 million square feet with more internal streets for circulation. The proposed Airpark 599 Airport East Addendum accounts for current building practices, which include larger industrial buildings with fewer streets and a notable reduction in square footage. Less than half of the original square footage is remaining of what was originally approved, with approximately 3.48 million square feet of buildings that are primarily industrial and a small amount of commercial. Again, the original special purpose plan was included in the 2035 general plan and the 2035 general plan final environmental impact report as a known project. ICF prepared an addendum to the final environmental impact report on behalf of San Joaquin County to evaluate the potential environmental impacts of the change in land uses. It was determined that none of the above conditions calling for preparation of a subsequent or supplemental environmental impact report would occur as a result of the project, and approval of the project and the final environmental impact report addendum is consistent with the provisions of CEQA, the county's procedures for the implementation of CEQA, and the 2035 general plan. The project also would not result in new impacts not previously analyzed in the 2035 general plan final environmental impact report, and further environmental documentation for the approval of the project is not required. In accordance with CEQA, an addendum to an environmental impact report is prepared for minor technical changes or additions to an environmental impact report that do not raise important new issues about significant impacts on the environment. As described in the Public Resources Code and state CEQA guidelines, preparation of an environmental impact report addendum is appropriate where none of the conditions calling for preparation of a subsequent environmental impact report or supplemental to an environmental impact report have occurred. Therefore, the Community Development Department determination to prepare an addendum to the 2035 General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report for the Airpark 599 project is appropriate. Pursuant to the 2035 General Plan, the county shall encourage the following types of uses within the Airport East property: projects with direct runway access, projects benefiting from airport and State Route 99 proximity, large corporate tenants, and uses that serve employees within the Airport East property. The underlying project for the warehouse distribution facilities will benefit from proximity to the airport and State Route 99 for the movement of goods, and is being developed with large corporate tenants in mind. In addition, the future commercial development will serve employees within the Airport 599 area. As a result, the project is consistent with the goals, objectives, and implementation measures of the 2035 General Plan. This is a photo of the existing Airpark 599 sign located at the intersection of Arch Airport Road and Pock Lane. And this photo is looking at Arch Airport Road southwest towards the project site. The State Route 99 southbound on-ramps are visible to the, oh, I said to the right, to the left. There. And then this photo is looking south from the intersection of Arch Airport Road and South Qantas Lane towards the project site. So this is going south on Qantas, where it's going to eventually be reconfigured. Thank you. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for? Staff recommendation, please.
Staff's recommendation is to forward the addendum to the San Joaquin County 2035 General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report for the Airpark 599 project at the Stockton Metropolitan Airport to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for adoption. Forward Special Purpose Plan Amendment Application Number PA 2075 with the basis for the Special Purpose Plan Amendment to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval. Forward Road Name Change Application Number PA 20-176 to officially rename a portion of South Qantas Lane to East Landing Lane with the attached consistency with road naming standards, and to forward Site Improvement Plan Application Number PA 2076 with the attached standards, with the addition of those from the Department of Public Works, City of Stockton, and San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District included in the notes for this evening to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval.
Okay, thank you. Applicant representative. Forward.
Ms. Merrill. My name is Adam Brucker, and I'm with the County Administrator's Office, and I'm here tonight to represent the property owner, which is the county. The applicant is here with me as well. Just wanted to say a few things, and then we'll let the applicant come up if you have any questions for him. But I just want to say it's taken many years of difficult negotiations to get to this point. Obviously, the special purpose plan was approved back in 2000, so 2 decades to get here. There's been much that's happened along the way, certainly, but it doesn't look like it when you take a look at those photographs. As indicated by staff, the applications in front of you tonight, or at least the recommendations, are for minor adjustments to a plan. It was approved a long time ago, and they'll serve to allow the county and its development partner to deliver a project that is less intensive than the original plan and is more suitable for our strong industrial market. With the Board of Supervisors' approval of the new 10-year master development agreement in October with Catellis, your consideration of tonight's recommendations and the board's presumptive approval to follow, 2021, we believe, will be the year that this project finally gets started, sticks in the air out there, and we can celebrate an accomplishment. Some key benefits of the project at build-out that we like to talk about, the estimated job creation at build-out, again, is 2,300 to 5,300 jobs, depending on who the ultimate users are of these buildings. Not a small number. Also, several $1 million in project revenue will come into the county. And then we'll also expect to see an estimated increase of about $600,000 a year in property tax revenue to the county. I'd like to certainly thank county staff, the team here at Community Development, Public Works, and all those who worked with us and our development team to get here. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of work. There's still a lot of work to be done. And we just want to say we appreciate your consideration of the recommendations. And with that, I'd like to invite Sean Wiskaman, Senior Vice President with Catellis, our development partner, to come up and introduce himself. And then if you have any questions for us, we're certainly available.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Hamilton and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Sean Wiskaman, Senior Vice President of Catellis. Joined here by with Bill Kennedy, who runs our construction group. In the audience, Lou Carpenter from CBG, and there's a few other folks from our consultant team that are joining us via out there in cyberspace. So, I just wanted to take a couple, just say a few things, and we really enjoyed working with staff to get to this point. This is a major milestone for this project. This is a very exciting step for us. We're excited to be here. We're anxious to get started. I think we share Adam's enthusiasm for a start in 2021, and are here to answer any questions for you. And just on behalf of all of us at Catellis, we're excited to be here, and thank you for consideration and here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of this project? Would anyone like to speak on the project?
I believe we have some members of the public that have comments regarding this public currently. Mike, I'm not going to pronounce your last name appropriately. I apologize. Mike Lazel.
Yes, I'm here online.
Yes, please speak now.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners. We did submit comments earlier today. Just to reiterate as briefly as possible here, the EIR that the addendum is working off of was certified in 2016 for the 2035 general plan. And a program EIR. It does not specifically address the Catella-Stockton warehouse project. It's not identified, nor are its specific impacts addressed in the 2016 EIR. Because the general plan EIR is a program level EIR, the county cannot rely on sections 21166 and CEQA guideline 15162. Instead, the county must apply the fair argument, as the California Supreme Court has indicated, and determine whether the Catellas project may have significant environmental impacts. And if it does, an EIR is required. If it doesn't turn out to, if an initial study says it doesn't have impacts, at least a mitigated negative deck would be required. And the EIR or the MND can, of course, tier from the general plan EIR, but it can't make believe that this specific project is the same project as the general plan approval. And in terms of impacts, I think there's some that are fairly obvious for both air quality and farmland. I believe the project may have either direct or cumulative impacts. Indeed, that general plan EIR from 2016 found that the overall general plan would have significant and unavoidable impacts on air quality and farmland conversion. And as a result, this specific project will have at least cumulative impacts on both those fronts. And because in the program EIR, these were deemed to be significant and unavoidable, CEQA also required the specific project, subsequent project, that the county consider findings and make a statement of overriding considerations for the subsequent site-specific project. And the air quality analysis, also by attempting to rely on the general plan EIR, also uses an incorrect baseline because that EIR's air baseline was 2035, not the baseline. And in addition, we do think also that the project may have impacts on biological resources. There was no particular focus on this site to determine what wildlife and particular birds might be using the site. So the county's not aware at this point, doesn't know even what's there. And that should be explored in an initial study. So to conclude, the addendum's not allowed by law. The county fails to apply the fair argument standard to its review of the project as dictated by the California Supreme Court. And an initial study and either an MND or more likely an EIR must be prepared for the project. I appreciate the time this evening.
At this time, are there any other attendees looking to speak towards this project? That is item number 3, special purpose plan number PA 20000075, site improvement plan number PA 20000076, and road name change number PA 2000176. On this item, this is your chance to unmute and please speak. I'm seeing no other participants online.
Okay, thank you. The applicant would like to rebuttal on any of the conversation? Seeing none, we'll close the public session. Back to the commission. Comments?
Looks like a good project. A lot of good jobs.
Any other comments? Not, can I have a motion?
Now, Zoe, with this one being so dense, would you like me, I usually just read off the summary page. Is that fine? Or do you want the forward? Okay. Okay, make a motion to forward the addendum to the San Joaquin County 2035 General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report for the Air Park 599 project at the Stockton Metropolitan Airport to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for adoption. Forward Special Purpose Plan Amendment Application Number PA 2000075 with the basis for the Special Purpose Plan Amendment to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval. And forward Road Name Change Application Number PA 2000176 to officially rename a portion of South Qantas Lane the East Landing Lane with the attached consistency with the road naming standards. And forward Site Improvement Plan Application Number PA 2000076 with the attached standards to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Maury, Commissioner Midgley,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes. Passes 4-0. Before we move on to item number 5, we're going to take a 5-minute break here so that the commissioners can review the late information that came in tonight. Time, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Okay, action item number 5, modification 20145.
Chair and Commission, David Kwong, your director again. If you can bear with us in a little patience here, we're going to have a multi-departmental agency presentation for you. So I just want to start out with a little forward in terms of the timing. As you might recall, in the August Plan Commission, during public comments, our Sheriff's Office came before the Commission and expressed some concerns regarding this this existing facility having a lot of sheriff calls for service, and the Commission asked us to bring it back as soon as possible. We did so back in September 17th, and at that point, we had a presentation ready and staff report ready as well, and to that extent, there were conversations at that point then with the owner's attorney, and there was a request for a continuance, and it was granted. So we also similarly received another additional correspondence yesterday, which we attempted to bring forward to the Commission this morning, and part of the reason is that we wanted to give the Commission all the information as soon as possible, but we did have to go through the information and review and coordinate it on it as well. So right now, at this point, the agencies and department from the county are able to respond. And so with that, I'm going to kick it off with the Commission's permission to Corinne King, my main project manager on this. Go ahead, Corinne.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This is a modification proceedings to revoke the hotel, restaurant, lounge, and banquet facilities uses of use permit application number UP2511. The gasoline and service station that was established with this land use will remain valid. The property is located on the northeast corner of East Waterloo Road and State Route 99 in Stockton. The project site has a general plan designation of commercial freeway services and a zoning designation of commercial freeway services. This is an aerial picture of the Days Inn Hotel facility. On August 20th, 2020, Planning Commission hearing representatives from San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department requested that the Planning Commission initiate a revocation or modification action pursuant to Development Title Section 9-230.3 for the Days Inn Hotel. The representatives explained how the Days Inn Hotel has been conducting business and maintaining the site in a manner that has been detrimental to the public health and safety and that constitutes a nuisance. In response to the Sheriff's Department representative's statement, the Planning Commission directed staff to bring them a staff report recommending revocation or modification of the Days Inn Hotel land use permit. Representatives, as David said, representatives from the Sheriff's Department, Environmental Health, Waterloo-Murata Fire District will also speak as part of this presentation. On April 11th, 1963, the Planning Director approved use permit application number UP2511 to establish a 150-unit motel, cocktail lounge, restaurant, accessory retail shops, and service station at 4219 East Waterloo Road in Stockton, the current site of the Days Inn Hotel. The uses were established and many building permits have been issued throughout the years. Although the service station use was established as part of the 1963 use permit, it is no longer located on the same parcel as the hotel, restaurant, lounge, and banquet facility and is not included in this revocation modification action. This item was brought before the Planning Commission on September 17, 2020, at which time the attorney for the Days Inn requested a continuance to a later meeting. The continuance was granted and the item was continued to tonight's meeting. On October 14, 2020, representatives from Community Development Department, Sheriff's Office, Environmental Health Department, Waterloo-Murata Fire District, the hotel operators, and Mr. Jolly met to discuss the department's outstanding issues. The Sheriff's Office and the Waterloo-Murata Fire District provided a list of recommendations to the operators and their attorney later that day. The Community Development Department, County Council, and Mr. Jolly met on December 16, 2020 to discuss the progress the facility had made towards the recommendations provided by the departments. And then today, on November 19, 2020, the department received proposed modifications to the conditions of approval for the facility, which have been reviewed by the Sheriff's Office, Waterloo-Murata Fire District, and the Environmental Health Department, and they've been included in your notes for this evening. At this point, I'd like to ask the sheriff's representative to come up.
Good evening. I'm Bill Hughes. I'm the abatement coordinator for the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department. And the reason we're here tonight is to discuss the property at 4219 Waterloo Road. I'm going to give you an overview of the last almost 20 years of what's been going on there. And we'll start off, we have the calls for service, respectively, beginning in the year 2001. And this is important as you see where we progressed here in 2020. But 2001, the total calls for service for 4219 East Waterloo was 17. 2002 was 69. 2003 was 60. 2004, 53. 2005, 63. 2006 would be 66. 2007, 55, 2008, 46, 2009, 29, 2010, 38, 2011, 55, 2012, 61, 2013, 52, 2014, 60, 2015, 95, 2016, 145, 2017, 199, 2018, 361, 2019, 307, and 2020 is going to exceed over 500 for 2020. Now, it's noteworthy that as these calls went up in value, so did the degree of the crimes. In 2020, we had a murder at day's end, and we had an officer-involved shooting where the suspect was killed. Inspection, most recently at the motel done by Environmental Health and Code Enforcement and the Sheriff's Office assisted, we found such things as a 12 and 14-year-old girl in a room that wasn't assigned to anybody, and those girls had condoms in their backpacks. And how they got in there is just your guess is as good as mine, but there's no doubt that the people there that's running this is not paying attention, or they're letting stuff happen that shouldn't happen. Of concern I have for the hotel itself is the unsuspecting people that might stop in there and get mugged or killed without knowing what kind of facilities that they're checking into. Now, when these calls for service started escalating over the years, representatives from the Sheriff's Office met with Mr. Patel and his management staff, and we discussed these issues that we're discussing tonight. So we met on 4 occasions, in March of 2019, March again in 2019, December of 2019, and February of 2020. Each time we had these discussions, our intention was to go in there and assist them with trying to remedy what's going on there. These calls were, it was a big burden on not only the Sheriff's Office, but Environmental Health and the Fire Department, as you'll hear them speak. Condition of the hotel, I stated in the initial contact here that I would stay at the Crest Motel on Wilson Way before I stayed at Days Inn on Waterloo Road. It's deplorable. We have excessive calls of service. They don't have the adequate security. I don't know about the cameras, but the concerns we have here is this has got to stop. Now, I understand that you do have a copy of the chart here that basically demonstrates what's going on there, but the draw on the county resources and the county taxpayer is incredible. Now, here I have these 2 books as demonstrators. This book represents calls for service from January 1st, 2019 to December 18th, 2019. Now, in here is a lot of entries. Most importantly, if you look at this as taxpayers' money, there's a vault full of money here. So what's been happening is the sheriff's office has become, and still is, the security for Days Inn. Now, I talked with representatives from Days Inn about the concerns of what's going on here, and we had, I believe, let me get it together here, back in August when this was put over till the 17th of September, we can definitely state that the people or management at Days Inn were aware of what the problems were. And you would think that they would jump on it and come up with a resolution. Okay, in following this, basically, from September 1st through September 1st, November 17th, there's 101 calls for service, even after notification. We talked about security. I think they had security there. I'd never seen it, but I heard that they had security there 20 hours a day, 20 out of 24. When I was talking with the representatives or people representing Days Inn, we came up with some solutions that may help them put this hotel back on track. And we're in agreement with the majority of them except for two areas. And the two areas it was proposed by Days Inn that they would carry one security guard. We recommend two. And the reason for the second security guard is one can't do it. If you look at the layout, do you have this anywhere on? If you look at the layout of Days Inn, it's basically impossible for one security guard to patrol this thing properly. The ideal thing to do would be have two security guards, and those security guards have to be 24/7, because as you look at the calls for service, they are 24/7. Now, one thing that we discovered, and you'll hear some testimony from Environment Health, but we were out there on Wednesday, and they did an inspection of Days Inn. Some of the things that we talked about that they so-called implemented was when their clientele comes in, they would sign in, they'll get their vehicle information, they'll get a tag that they put in their dash so we know the car belongs there. When we went through there, myself and my partner walked through the parking lot. There's approximately 60 cars there, 23 of them without any identifiers that it had gone through the front desk. And there was a few cars there without license plates, and they were kind of dilapidated vehicles, and it wouldn't be one you would want in your lot. So you'd have to ask who's scrutinizing these cars, who's getting the information. The point I want to raise, I think that Days Inn can rejuvenate themselves, but they would have to lean towards our recommendations so that they can at least try to do it. What they're proposing, the one security guard, that is never going to happen. It cannot and will not work. So what I'm suggesting is that can we work together? Yes, we can. But if they're not willing to proceed with some suggestion from us, they're on the road to failure. And if that happens, I say close them. So it's up to them and up to you. Any questions?
Yeah, just so a couple here. If the building's vacant, I mean, I'm looking at that picture, there's a ton of blind spots. it doesn't necessarily mean that the phone calls to your department's going to stop. I mean, there's going to be, we're almost passing from one department to the next. I mean, the fire department's going to have to deal with the homeless in there, possibly the fires. I really would like to see a workable solution with this versus just revoking the license, because there's taxpayer cost to that as well. Do you think the 2 security guards, does that solve a big issue here? Does that get it going in the right direction for you?
Okay, it's going to assist them in being successful. One definitely is a failure.
Okay.
Going to require 2, and they're going to have to be individuals that are proactive, that work together and try to problem solve. Now, if they do that, okay, and just like the camera system that we're talking about, and I understand tonight, I found out there's actually 39 cameras that they're going to install. If that's the case, that's great. But we also have to have off-site storage of that information. And the reason for it, because we don't know who the employees are or how some of the stuff, like how did a 12 and 14-year-old girl get in there. So I don't really want to depend on any information they might give me until they earn that trust, and they haven't done it yet. Just like when I talked with Mr. Patel and his staff 4 different times, he shook his head, yes, 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 shook my hand, said things are going to change. It went for about a week, and that's demonstrated by the calls of service. It goes about a week, and then it drops off again. And I think that if we come to some agreement, and they come to terms and they want to implement these issues and move forward, if they stay with it, I believe they can succeed. However, I'll be honest with you, because of past practice, this is not something I've been working on since last Friday. This is almost 3 years. And each time I've worked with their staff, they have failed us, and it's gone back down to 0. So if we do agree with this, I believe it should be monitored and for a considerable amount of time. This is nothing we're going to, okay, you do this and we're gone. We have to look at it to see what happens. And you'll see success in this when, first of all, the clientele at the day's end that's currently there goes someplace else, because now we have real-time requirements for you to stay here. You can't bring your 50 friends. That's what happens, by the way. Somebody rents a room, and 15 other people come in there, and it's free to go. And that has to be corrected. Now, again, we can't let this go for a month or 2 months. We have to monitor this for a while. And if he does it correctly, the security guards are proactive, this will clean itself up. It will not be perfect, but it sure will not be what it is today.
One more question. Did you see Mr. Jolly's recommendations for the dates, kind of the check-in dates, to see if things are going along as planned, December 30th, January 21st, March 15th, and June 15th? Those were for kind of progress updates, if I'm not mistaken.
No, those were actually dates that I met with them. It was me, a sergeant and lieutenant, and we kind of switched off, but I was always there talking with them. And what we're trying to do is assist him in reducing the calls for service to bring things around. And our intentions were great. I never thought we'd be here asking you to close them down.
But I guess my question was, have you seen Mr. Jolly's letter? It came out, I think, last night. Is that right?
Yes. In fact, I spoke with Mr. Jolly yesterday, and where we agree on the majority of it. Okay. We're not really in tune with the issue with the number of guards, nor are we in tune with the off-site storage of the information from the cameras.
Okay.
That's pertinent to success.
Okay. Yeah, so those 2 issues are the sticking points for you.
But those are the ones that we're going to hold our grounds to. We're going to require that. And without those, by the way, particularly without the second guard, he's going to fail.
Okay.
A question on the Waterloo Road rumor mill is that a lot of that times that parking lot's used for a park and ride. These guys that need to drop off their car for the day and night and down the road.
There is nothing that indicates that's the problem, because we actually have room numbers this stuff is going on in. Like the murder. The murder was inside the building.
Right, I know that.
The rape was inside the building. The underage girls were inside the building. And the building, or the room they were in, wasn't registered to anybody. So somebody inside allowed them to go in there. We don't know who.
What you'd like to see is all cars in the parking lot accountable.
Okay, for them to do it correctly, sir, is if they take and as the guest comes in, they document them with the photo ID. Those without proper ID get turned back, and they have every right to do that. They go out there and ensure that the car that's coming in there, we have the proper license, and that they put the tag on the dash to ensure it happens. If you have a car with no license plate, Billy, you know, I was a CHP officer for 31 years, and I can tell you this, generally speaking, a car going down the road with no license plates, that guy's wanted for something, always hiding something. So that type of activity can't continue. And like I said, he has a way to clean it up. It's up to him if he wants to do it.
Any other questions for Mr.
I have. You said 2 security guards. There's 4 wings there in the administrative building. What would that guard's job be?
Okay, well, see, that's a good question because the 4 wings makes it problematic to patrol. So my thought would be, my suggestion is that in the camera system, you have one of the guards actually monitoring the cameras as they show around the property. You have the other guard on patrol checking the cars and any other issues, and they can get together and work. Now, 2 guards is a minimum that would be there. Naturally, more would make it a lot better, but I'd rather have the 2 than the 1, because at least the 2, they have a chance. And again, if they're proactive and do the right thing, is the calls for service going to continue with the sheriff's office? Absolutely. But if they go in there and they apply themselves, pretty soon the clientele that's there won't want to come there because it's not as easy as it was. Right now, it's a crook's hangout. That's where they go. So you got to change your clientele.
Thank you.
Okay, next I'll have environmental health.
Hello, my name is Mike Struzetsky, and I am a field inspector for San Joaquin County Environmental Health Department. I work in the housing department, and I'm assigned inspector to the Days Inn. EHD conducts annual inspections of restaurant and the bar at the hotel. During these inspections, and when following up on complaints submitted by the public, EHD has observed such violations as no soap or paper towel in the restroom, unsanitary conditions in the kitchen, a leaking ceiling in the kitchen. In August of 2017, EHD received complaints that led to a closure of the kitchen for violations such as no hot water, not using sanitizer in the dishwasher or at the bar. In July of 2019, the bar was closed for violations including rodent droppings. The most current inspection of the food facilities was a routine inspection on 3/11/2020, which cited major violations. These violations were subsequently corrected during the reinspection on 5/18/2020. Next slide. EHD also inspects swimming pools and spas. In September of 2019, the pool and spa at the hotel were observed to be filled with green algae, and the pool has been drained and not reopened since. This is a picture of the pool at the time of inspection. As for the inspection of other portions of the hotel, EHD's housing program has received multiple complaints, culminating in the start of a substandard housing case in March of 2019. The red line on the graph indicates violations that were added during inspections. The blue line shows violations that were corrected, and the black line shows the number of remaining violations. As of the last inspection, which occurred yesterday, 19 violations remain.
What are those 19? Price?
In general, these 19 weren't as major as the ones before. There was a leaking ceiling. There was missing smoke detector, a missing fire extinguisher, damaged carpet, cockroaches. Nothing that I felt presented such an imminent threat that I would close any of the rooms down or the building, but there's still substandard violations nonetheless. Violations that were considered to be an imminent threat or danger to the public have led to the closure of 2 buildings in March of 2019, and these buildings were reopened only to be closed again with an addition of a 3rd building in August of 2020. The following slides show a small amount of the violations observed during these inspections. Here you can see a water damaged ceiling that was repaired, but repaired improperly, and you're having the staining and mold. Next slide, please. This was in one of the guest rooms. Your guess is as good as mine. Why it was just left open? I assume somebody was doing repairs, but they still thought it was okay to rent it out. It's not as easy to tell, but that is blood staining that wasn't cleaned in one of the guest rooms, and that's smeared across the wall. Here is a bathtub that was continuously leaked into the hallway, and from what I can tell, it was leaking for quite a while by the time I arrived and observed it during my inspection. And here is an excessive amount of visible black mold in one of the showers. This mold, I felt, was an imminent threat to public health, so I had the room posted with a notice to vacate so that it couldn't be rented. Here is the first floor hallway of one of the buildings. What happened here was a toilet overflowed into the first floor hallway. It was foul-smelling liquid all over, and it sat there at least for 12 hours before I observed it. And here's that toilet overflowing, flooding the room. Again, at least 12 hours without being responded to. This is one of the more concerning violations. Here we have a hot water heater that wasn't being properly vented, and a strong odor of gas was present during the inspection, which subsequently led to the whole building having to be posted with a notice to vacate. Currently, there are 9 rooms considered substandard, and all the buildings are open. And as I mentioned before, 19 violations in all. And right before the meeting tonight, the owners did send me an email showing corrections to the remaining violations, but I have yet to review them, so I can't really say if they have been corrected or not. Any questions?
Have they been working to try and get things better with you, or because some of these pictures are from a while ago, but some are very recent as well? Have you find them to be cooperative and get things done, or is it just been
Well, if you go back to the
recent?
graph, please. So the red line indicates violations that were added, and the blue line indicates violations that were corrected. As you can see, there's this up and down pattern. We'll correct them, do an inspection, and then we'll find, that violations, new violations, or damage has been occurred to the room again, and maintenance isn't being kept up. That's a continuous theme here is that, yes, they will correct, be quick about it, what I point to them, but just because they correct one room, they'll just completely ignore another. So I'm hoping that things will change now. but I guess only time will tell.
Thank you.
I have Chief Henry, Waterloo Murata Fire District.
Good evening, Chair Hamilton, Commissioners. My name is Steve Henry. I'm the current Fire Chief for Waterloo Murata Fire District. Our jurisdiction covers and services the Days Inn Hotel. I have three current concerns here for you tonight. I, too, like the Sheriff's Department, very concerned with our increased calls for service. Going back before 2015, we ran, on an annual basis, we ran anywhere from 2 to 7 calls to that address. In 2015, we had a 220% increase in calls, and it went to 16 calls for that year. And in 2019, we had another 100% increase, and the call volume went to 34 calls for the year. This is a trend. We have repetitive violations on...
What are the majority of the calls?
Medical. Most of the time they're medical. We have probably about 60% of the calls for medical. 40% of them are fires. They're usually parking lot or vegetation fire on the property.
Thank you.
The repetitive violations on inspections. We've red tagged the housing buildings 2 years in a row. I've been part of it both years. It was to a point, the first year we went through, there was an entire wing that I was not going to allow anybody to spend another night there, and we vacated it that day. They had to be out of the building before midnight. And the reason was there were so many smoke detectors that were not working. I felt it was unsafe to have anybody be in the room or in the buildings at all. And even though those were not working, that was the only early detection system that they have, was those smoke detectors. So I red tagged that building. And then you saw the vented, our parts per million were just skyrocketing in that room, and it was in the first floor. So CO builds and goes out. It would not just stay in that mechanics room, that boiler room. It's going to go out. And so the residents of that, the guests there, were being exposed to that CO as well. This most recent past inspection walked into the lobby, and all but one door of that main building that you saw with the bar, the restaurant, the conference room, and the registration, all but one door was chained locked. So obviously that's a problem for me. So before we did anything else, we had them unlock the chains and open up those doors. Their concern was security. Smoke detectors over the last 2 years have continually been missing, disabled, or just not working. Not checked. Battery's dead. Malfunctioning. And this is a habitual problem. There's no fire suppression system in this building or any portion of this property. Look above us and you see sprinklers. That's code. This building was built before that. There are no early suppression systems attached to any of these buildings. That creates a very high life hazard. One of the things that I did during both inspections is I asked the front desk to print off a list of rooms that are occupied. Obviously, they've rented that room. They have the right to their privacy, and I'm not going to go into that room. Throughout the entire hotel, we opened up a room that's on the vacant list, and there's people in it, and they're sleeping there. Why is this important to us in the fire department? Much like a school, teachers do a fire drill, they grab their attendance book, they go out into the playground, and they take roll. Well, that's what we're doing. We get that attendance book, and we start taking rolls. And we start looking for, and we start targeting rooms that could potentially have victims in them. But because of the last 2 years, my folks are going to get slowed down in life rescue because we can't trust this sheet. We have to now search every room. It's going to slow us down and get into those that need us the most. So, and I'm talking not only the long-term residents, the family that happens to stop there, or even the homeless that break in illegally. Every one of those lives I need to account for. And the only way to do that is to slow us down. You have to remember, we're a small rural fire district. I have 6 people on duty at a day, sometimes 5. This fire got established in one of these wings. I would not only need the city of Stockton to assist, I would need 5 other agencies just so we can function and do the job without putting our firefighters at risk. Early detection, early suppression is the only way that we can make this a safe haven for travelers, a safe haven for anybody that visits there. The private water system that's it's water provided by Cal Water, pretty much non-existent. Our firefighters won't even attach to those fire hydrants. They'll do a longer lay, which takes longer because they get a better hydrant off site. This delays in fire suppression. This is also a trend.
For what reason? For pressure? Volume?
Well, volume of the water.
So it met code back when it was built.
We can't, there's not enough volume for us to be able to pump the 1,250 or 1,500 GPMs a minute that we're going to need multiple engines if this gets established. So the lack of attention to the smoke detectors and the repetitive violations on the inspections is also a trend. Now, I'm also concerned with the Commission's action tonight. Revocation of this permit worries me. You heard it earlier about the blight, what's going to happen if we shut this building down, this business down. If we can't impress upon the business operator now while it's in business to provide a safe haven for his guest, makes you think we're going to be able to impress how important it is for him to spend money and keep that secure. It's not going to happen. The blight in the buildings and then the homelessness that are currently impacting this property is going to run rampant. I truly believe that what we need to do is I don't support revocation. That's my position. I do support conditions, early detection, and early fire suppression. Questions I can answer for you while I'm here.
Yes, they have Mr. Jolly's list here. No later than 1 year following the date of adoption of these conditions, operators shall install a fire alarm system in each hallway corridor of the 4 freestanding guest wings of the hotel. And they have a date on that, no later than 1 year. Is that acceptable to you, or is that not?
Yeah, that's the overall project. When they do this, the discussion that I had with Mr. Jolly is phasing it. I'm concerned that the phasing is going to get pushed off because I too have no confidence in the business operator to continue and follow up on these projects. So I would be looking for progress every quarter, but I understand it's going to take time, and along with everything else that he's going to have to do, I'm willing to work with him if we can get there. My goal is to get there. I'm a little hesitant to think that, and I don't want to put an unrealistic timeline on it so he fails. So I'm willing to stretch that out a little bit. But I'd be back here in front of you next year if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, the trend lines of things getting a little better and then just going back to the way they were, very similar to what Mr. Hughes is saying. Things get a little better, go right back, and also the environmental department as well. So
we absolutely, the vent that you saw, I closed that building down by order of the fire chief, and that night, we were there in the morning, that night, they had a HVAC system company out there, and they fixed it. So he was responding to it because he couldn't have anybody in the building. It impacted his business. So those inspections that we go and do, yeah, they get addressed. My inspector goes back, re-inspects, but then we come back the next time we go out there, and we have a bunch of violations again. So it's just repetitive. And it's, like I said, it's a trend.
Questions? Thank you.
So a development approval may be revoked or modified pursuant to the provisions of this chapter upon a finding of any one or more of the following grounds. Fraud, that such development approval was obtained or extended by fraud. Violation of a condition, that one or more of the conditions upon which such development approval was granted have been violated. Or adverse impacts, that the use or facility for which the development approval was granted is so conducted or maintained as to be detrimental to the public health or safety, or as to be a public nuisance. The department has made the determination that the facility is maintained in a manner that is detrimental to the public health or safety and continues to be a public nuisance to responding county departments and surrounding community. Due to the number of required responses to the site by the Sheriff's Department, Environmental Health Department, and Waterloo-Murata Fire District, this facility is a continuing drain on community resources. Additionally, the conditions found by these responding departments upon inspections demonstrate dangerous conditions for persons on and around the site. Thank you. This concludes staff's presentation.
We have the representative from the hotel. Charlie?
Good evening, Chair Hamilton and members of the commission. Brent Jolly on behalf of the property owner. We heard a lot of information here, but I think we're all headed in the same direction, hopefully. I am joined tonight by the property owner, Champ Patel, and also by the manager, Fixit Barjwa, who are here to help advise me if we need to provide any additional responses to you. At the end of the day, my clients don't necessarily agree with all of the allegations or complaints that have been presented to you, but I don't think it's constructive, nor do they, to sit here and go through each and every one of those. Obviously, there are concerns that have been raised by the fire department and the sheriff's office and environmental health, and our goal is to try to find a long-term solution so that the business and those agencies can continue to operate in harmony. And so in doing that, we have proposed the conditions of approval that are attached as Exhibit A to my letter. We think that this is really a good place to start on this. This use permit is so old it essentially has no conditions on it. And there has not been a typical enforcement process on this. Mr. Hughes met with my clients on a couple of occasions informally and told them that he was not pleased with what was going on at the property. But there was no notice or opportunity to cure or specific objective standards which were put forth there. What we'd like to do tonight is have the commission adopt these objective, enforceable conditions that we've put out there that are going to give assurances to the various agencies that have spoken to you tonight that the property owners are going to take specified steps and actions and make changes in operations that have been recommended by those agencies so that we can indeed end up with a much more harmonious operation. And they're willing to do that, and it's going to cost a lot of money to do those, but they're willing to do it because they see the long-term benefits of addressing the concerns of the various agencies. It sounds like really the two outstanding issues are those that were identified by Mr. Hughes on the public safety conditions, which are condition 1, paragraph 1 on my attachment A. And one of those items is 1A, which provides operator will have a minimum of one licensed bonded security guard on the premises 24 hours a day. And we posed that condition because that has been the recommendation all along for Mr. Hughes, is that we have one guard on site 24 hours a day. We did not have 24-hour security. Originally, it was evening security. My clients had proposed having approximately 20 hours a day for security, and Mr. Hughes was adamant that there needed to be 24 hours a day, and my clients have agreed to that. Their pushback, so you know, is security, licensed bonded security guard costs them over $300,000 a year per guard to have stationed on the property. And so we learned yesterday afternoon that Mr. Hughes now would like to see 2 guards on the property. That's going to obviously double that cost substantially. They're already putting several $100,000 into the property. What I would propose and what I would like to see is to adopt the condition with the 1 guard, and then obviously we've got some review requirements in here. And when we have the full-time 24/7 security guard, we couple that with the installation of the security cameras. We implement the IDing of guests, guest vehicles, parking passes, doing towing and removal of the vehicles, and posting loitering signs has been requested by Mr. Hughes. I think when we take into consideration all of those different factors that are being put into place, that it's reasonable to start with 1 security guard, and obviously if that doesn't result in a substantial reduction in the issues, then maybe we revisit it when we come back on review and see if that needs to be changed to 2. I can tell you that my clients don't want criminal activities on their property any more than Mr. Hughes wants the criminal activities on their property. So there's a mutual goal there of trying to provide better security for the property. So with that, I'd ask the commission to adopt these conditions as they have been presented. Obviously, we understand that this is not the end. We've got compliance dates in there. We've got reporting deadlines to staff and the ability to bring it back before the commission if there are problems. We've also proposed that the parties get together in July and discuss how things are going from an implementation standpoint and what issues are there. I find it's best if you can get everybody in a room. We actually were able to do that on the 14th and talk about not only the issues and the problems that are identified, but hopefully solutions to address those. I think it's more productive to do that than to simply bring it to the commission for you to have to referee a battle. I think we've all worked hard to try to come up with a solution, and we would encourage the commission to adopt these conditions tonight, giving my client the basically the green light to go ahead and start putting the capital into the property to make these various improvements. And then we will have an enforceable means of ensuring that this property can continue to exist. County's not left with a vacant building, and hopefully we have a better operation out there for the benefit of the community. So I would ask you to adopt those conditions.
Charlie, so your client thinks that 1 security guard, X amount of hours per day, is going to be able to control 9.5 acres of grounds. That's a big area. Or property dealing with that. Not going to get there. How you came up, I know it's a financial deal, but it seems like an awful big piece of property to cover with 1 acre.
Well, until yesterday, that had been Mr. Hughes' recommendation, was to have 1 security guard there 24/7 as a minimum. So the fact that Mr. Hughes now feels that that will be an absolute failure to have that isn't really based on data. And I really think that with the amount of other changes, not just adding a 24/7 security guard, but the other changes that are being implemented on the Sheriff's Office recommendations, that's really should be our jumping off point. And then obviously, if that is an issue, and it continues to be an issue, my clients, again, want to secure the facility. They don't want to have these continuing issues going on out there. And so there's an ultimate goal of the same result out there.
Regarding the security cameras, will this information coming off these cameras available?
Well,
I mean, there's systems that you can share.
Yeah, they will be systems that will save the security onto I assume it's a hard drive. I don't know specific details about how long it will be saved. Those conditions weren't discussed by the sheriff's office. And obviously, sometimes seizing that information or that information is going to be subject to a warrant, depending on what information is sought. But if there are more specific details that the sheriff's office is looking for in terms of the condition of security cameras, we can go back and try to renegotiate those. I'd love to get the conditions implemented, adopted tonight, so that my clients can get going on making the physical improvements to the property. If it's important to go back and try to renegotiate conditions, I suppose we can continue it to have the parties go do that, get more detail. My condition is based off of the statement in Mr. Hughes' letter from the 14th, which said install working security cameras to cover the entire property. That was the recommendation from the sheriff's office. I tried to put it into a more detailed condition with enforceable time limits. If there are more specific details, I don't really feel comfortable negotiating those on the fly from the podium here. But if the commission feels like it wants the parties to go back and work on that, we can do that. Again, I'd rather get the conditions up and running tonight so that my clients can move forward with the improvements, and then we can address these issues at a later time if it continues to be a problem.
Your recommendation was to come back, or your proposed conditions come back at what date?
Well, what I had proposed on our conditions were that we would send updates, which is item 3. We would send status updates to all of the administrative agencies on what we were doing. And then I had proposed that in August, the agencies would get together and meet for a status update. And if somebody felt that we should come back to the commission, that we would do that on a 30-day notice. Now, if the commission feels that it wants to see a return on this, obviously we don't want to overburden this commission. You have a lot of items that come before you. But if the commission feels like under any circumstances it wants to have a report, whether it's a public hearing or a report from staff, we're okay with a condition of that sort. We're very flexible on that. I just tried to come up with something that was not too burdensome on staff and the commission, but also had some enforceability from making sure that we're doing what needs to be done.
You know, and we've seen through these reports that a lot of stuff there were citations given. A lot of it wasn't taken apart, approved or corrected all the time. My feelings make this a little tighter. So when it comes back to the commission, talk to the parent company about all.
Well, my client is simply a franchisee of Days Inn. So Days Inn Wyndham doesn't have direct involvement in what is going on.
But who owns the property?
My client owns the property. Yeah, he owns the property and then is a franchisee of the hotel.
Any other question? So I have another question. So a lot of these completion date immediately, completion date December 1st, which is, who will monitor that?
Well, we will, under our proposal, we would be sending out updates on certain dates that we have put forth in there to basically give an update to all of the departments of what we have completed. And then, obviously, if they want to come out and inspect that, they can come do that and see where we are. But I wanted to put the onus on us to be providing status updates of the completion of certain activities, so it's not just left out there indefinitely or waiting for someone to come inspect it.
I think the conditions that you put together are good. I think they make sense. I think they're fair. There's dates on there as well. But I'm with Randy. At some point, I'd like to see this to make sure things are getting done. Is that correct? You were thinking?
I mean, I would like to see it come back June 1st.
Yeah, because it's you know, we got 3 different agencies saying kind of the same thing, negligence, you know, and I just don't want to pacify the owners who, according to 3 different, you know, departments are bad actors in this situation. So some type of oversight some way where we can see the progress ourselves versus later on.
And we would completely support a condition of that nature.
Okay.
Questions or comments?
Cleanliness of the place, how long is it going to take to get that straightened out? 5 months, 6 months? Oh, terrible.
Well, Mr. Morty, those were actually old pictures, which are violations that have been remedied since. I got the latest report. Environmental Health went out yesterday and inspected the outstanding rooms and cleared those, and then they did random inspections. And what they came up with is there was in the building 1, there was a non-functioning smoke detector in one room and a damaged bathroom door missing a can light cover. The smoke detector, those items have been remedied by my client today. They'll be re-inspected. Again, the smoke detector work too will all be included in contractor work that we are engaged in as a condition that we've discussed with the fire chief to go through and evaluate, test, and replace all of the smoke detectors. There was a carpet pulled up in a corner of a room. There was a damaged bathroom door. There was an exit sign with exposed wiring that's been fixed. There was a leaking, ceiling in the breezeway from the rain that my clients were not aware of until it rained. So they have actually cleared all of those that were shown in the pictures. In Environmental Health, when they go out there and they clear them, they do random inspections and will say, well, here are some other things. And as we heard from the representative of Environmental Health, at this point, there are not issues arising to the concern that they were in the past where he would want to shut down the room. These are more common hotel issues. My clients, again, will be doing an overhaul as part of this upgrade with the conditions. And so you will be expected to see improvement out of the Environmental Health responses as well. Environmental Health did not have any specific conditions. They wanted them to get the violations cleared. Obviously, the improvements that will be going on the property are going to include some of those environmental health concerns, and we should see some improvements out of that as well.
Director?
Right now, are the passes to the
No, the passes, one of our improvements is all of the buildings right now, the breezeways do not have a key card, or excuse me, the 4 residential wings have not had key card access. They just have had a standard lock, and they're generally open all the time. And that was one of the concerns that was raised by the Sheriff's Department is you don't have any control over who's going in and out of the buildings. You know, if they come around on the backside, they could be just going into the door. So one of our conditions is to install key card locks on all of those buildings, so only residents or guests with a key card can get into those buildings.
cards are required?
Are you asking the rooms themselves? Are they key card or locked? Yes, they are key card rooms right now. Thank you, commissioners.
Any rebuttal from the other?
number of guards to be on site. Yes. Like to see anything prior to 2 guards on the onset. As they clean this up, if they are successful, then we can revisit it and let the other guard go. I think is a better approach. Taking your army in and now, Mr. Jolly incorrectly stated that I changed the game yesterday. Direct you to the letter that I sent to him for the proposed October 14th. Notice on line 1, I have an S guards. Which I've always had it in mind. Oh, yeah.
Question for you. I have a question. So you're saying 2 guards till like still reviewed on June 1st or sooner? Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Yeah, I still agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I like the hard idea to help bring things in. My answer's an awful lot. Calls. Into your microphone.
Sorry. Well, great facility again. Like to see it flourish. But I think that you look at a 6-month period to see what the devil really has come out in that period of time. I think we should give them that much time. And I think they want to, prosper. But we can't keep looking at this all the time. Got to draw it to an end.
Well, like I said, I think the conditions are good. I don't have a problem with what Mr. Hughes is saying or Mr. Moore, you guys front-loading those 2 security guards in the beginning, but I think it'd be fair to put an end date to it as well, or bring it back under review at that time, maybe that March 15th, 2021 date that I see on here. Just a suggestion.
I think they need a little more time than March. There's a lot to do.
Okay, do we need a motion on this?
Modification or revocation with a recommendation from staff. So what you, of course, can do is modify the recommendation. In this case, it sounds like you're discussing modifying that to accept the proposal. And so you can reference that in terms of the letter with the specific Exhibit A. So if you reference that clearly, that's in the record. And any modifications that you want to do, you just want to verbally represent those in the motion.
I'll make a motion that we modify this permit, include Exhibit A conditions, A, which will be 2 licensed bonded security guards. March. Balance of the proposed condition applicant. And anything else? Pardon me? My motion.
May I just clarify that motion? It was just a little bit hard to hear. So it is to accept the proposed modifications in Exhibit A, but with a modification to 1A to be 2 licensed bonded security guards instead of the 1.
Correct, till March.
And until March 15th? Okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify that motion.
Right.
Thank you.
And Chair, if I can ask clarification, did you say something about a review on March 15th? Did you want us to bring it back on March 15th?
No, I think the commission would like to see a report come back on first.
Okay.
March 15th would be due date for the parties to get together.
Okay.
Regarding 2 security guards.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
So June 1st is not part of the modification, but instead you'll do it as a separate direction to staff, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
And there's a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Maury? Commissioner Grunsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley? Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes. Motion passes. Have director's report?
Okay, thank you, Chair. You only have 2 more meetings for the rest of the year, December 3rd and December 17th. And on December 3rd, we have I think is an exciting development title change to bring forward to you one of the first in a series of changes regarding second units and basically accessory dwelling units to address our housing crisis. And then, of course, also the second item, which we will be bringing back forward as you took action on it earlier this evening in regard to Mr. Hussein's chicken facility, so to speak. So those will be 2 items for December 3rd. And then on December 17th, we also have 2 more items. One will be a minor subdivision from basically a 10-acre parcel into 2 5-acre parcels. And then also a use permit for a development of a preschool building and multi-use building in Mountain House. And those are the only 2 items the last meeting of December for this year. Other than that, I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
Questions or comments?
I'm sorry?
Any other questions or comments?
We did confirm that was directed to be brought back, that item was directed to be brought back. So we're clear that that was directed to staff.
Okay, everyone have a safe Thanksgiving. We're adjourned.
Thank you, Commissioners.